The council chamber inside the Aurora Spire was never quiet, but today it felt tense in a way no one had felt before. 12 alien species had sent their most powerful leaders here. They were not here for trade or peace talks. They were here because of one thing: the humans. The giant hologram in the center of the round table showed a ship drifting slowly through the black. It was so massive that even without a size scale, everyone in the room could tell it was unlike anything they had ever built. The hull stretched for kilometers, its surface alive with shifting lights and strange metallic veins. Every few seconds, the lights pulsed outward in waves, rippling across the stars. "Leviathan," the Hegemony Admiral said. His blue skin reflected the glow of the hologram. He stood with his forearms folded tightly, speaking in a voice that carried through the translators. "That is what the humans call it. Our scans do not match any known technology." A soft ringing sound came from the crystalline Vathari envoy. Her transparent body bent light like glass in water. "The pulses." Her voice was like wind through chimes. "They are not random. They carry weight, gravity shifting unnaturally." The insectoid Krozeth Queen's armor plates clicked against each other. The shifting colors on her body darkened to red, the sign of danger. "You feel it too, don't you? The stars are slower. My kind senses movement through time itself. Something is holding it back." Around the table, the mechanical envoy from the Synth Collective spoke next, his voice hollow. "Analysis of the energy signature is incomplete. The pattern is consistent with theoretical stasis fields, devices capable of halting all matter within a defined volume." A shiver moved through the room. Every civilization had heard of such weapons in old legends, devices that could freeze whole fleets or stop a planet from turning until its surface burned or froze. No one had ever actually built one, at least not until now. The energy being delegate, a sphere of white fire, pulsed brighter. If the humans have made such a thing, then no fortress, no fleet, no world can resist them. This Leviathan could lock our armies in place, then take our systems one by one. "They are not a people of patience," the Hegemony Admiral said coldly. "They went from throwing rocks to star travel in less than 5,000 years. And now they arrive at our borders with this monstrosity, and say nothing of its purpose. They say nothing because there is nothing to say," the Krozeth Queen hissed. "It is a weapon and they mean to use it." A murmur rose around the chamber. Some delegates called for immediate attack. Others wanted to send envoys to demand answers. The Vathari envoy stood still, her body humming with a tone so low it made the air vibrate. "There is something else," she said softly. "The pulses are growing stronger. The gaps between them are shrinking." "What does that mean?" the energy being asked. The Vathari's crystalline body flickered. "It means it is counting down." The words spread a heavy silence over the chamber. Every species present could feel it, an invisible weight pressing on them. The stars were the same outside, but to those who could sense it, there was a strange drag in their motion, a faint slowing. The Hegemony Admiral slammed a palm on the table. "We cannot sit here and wait to be frozen in our own skies. Assemble the fleets. If they will not explain themselves, we will remove this threat before it is unleashed." From every corner of the chamber, voices rose in argument. 12 civilizations, each with different fears, different instincts, but one shared truth. They all saw the humans as a danger too great to ignore. The hologram shifted to show the Leviathan in motion, drifting past a dead moon. The pulses rolled out again, washing across the stars. One by one, the alien leaders fell quiet as they watched it. It looked like a city moving through space, its strange patterns glowing like a heartbeat. But it did not move like any other ship. It glided, almost like it was not traveling through space at all, but pulling space toward itself. The Krozeth Queen's mandibles clicked faster. "You all feel it now. The slowing is not imagination." The Vathari envoy's glow dimmed. "If they release this field at full strength, we will not have time to resist. We will not even have time to think." The mechanical envoy's lenses whirred. "Then we act before the pulse reaches its peak." The hegemony admiral's eyes narrowed. The fleets will meet at the border. We strike before their countdown reaches 0. The vote was quick. None of them wanted to risk being the first to fall. Even those who feared war more than they feared humans raised their hands in agreement. The decision was made. An armada unlike anything in history would assemble 10,000 ships from 12 civilizations to destroy the Leviathan before its purpose could be revealed. But far away, aboard the massive human vessel itself, someone else was watching the countdown too. Only they knew the truth, that the pulses were not a weapon's charge, but the only thing keeping the galaxy from tearing itself apart. And time was running out for everyone. Captain Mara Trent stood at the center of the Leviathan's bridge, her hands resting on the cold metal of the command rail. Outside the wide viewing panels, the stars seemed steady, but she knew better. Every few seconds, the faint ripple of the ship's pulse moved through space like an invisible tide. To the untrained eye, it was nothing. To her, it was the difference between life and collapse. She had read her orders 100 times, but they were burned into her mind anyway. They were sealed into her genetic code, locked in a way that only her body could unlock. No one outside the core crew knew the real mission, and for good reason. If the truth got out, panic would spread across every world in the galaxy. The door hissed open and her chief engineer, Dr. Elias Cade, stepped onto the bridge, still wearing his grease-stained jacket. His hair was a mess, and his eyes were red from days without rest. The stabilizer pulses are holding, but the field strain is climbing faster than I expected, he said without greeting. How bad? Mara asked. Cade pressed a data slate into her hands. She glanced at it and saw the jagged line rising higher with every pulse. If the strain crosses the red threshold, the field collapses, Cade explained. And when it collapses, so does the galaxy's mass lattice. Mara didn't need the science lesson. She'd been drilled on it for years. The galaxy was dying. Not tomorrow, not next month, but soon enough that it terrified her. Every faster-than-light jump ever made had left scars in the invisible threads that held gravity and time together. Millions of jumps, over thousands of years, had left the threads frayed, ready to snap. The Leviathan's mission was to stitch them back together before they broke. But the stitching required holding vast swathes of space still, like freezing a wound while it was repaired. The trouble was, to anyone watching from outside, it looked like a weapon. And not just any weapon, the kind that could trap fleets and crush planets without firing a single shot. The comms officer, Lieutenant Ray, turned from his console. Captain, long-range sensors just picked up multiple warp entries. Mara walked over, her boots echoing on the deck. How many? Ray's voice was tight. I count at least 2,000 ships, correction. 5,000, no, 10,000. The bridge went silent. Everyone stared at the display as ship icons bloomed like a spreading stain across the holographic map. 12 different hull designs, 12 different species, all moving in perfect formation toward them. Cade swore under his breath. They're here for us. Mara's jaw tightened. Put them on the main screen. The view shifted to the armada. Even at this distance, the scale was frightening. Sleek spearhead cruisers from the hegemony, crystalline shard ships from the Vathari, massive hive carriers from the Krozith, glowing spheres from the Luminari, and more. They moved like predators closing in on a single wounded target. The comms officer looked up. Incoming transmission from the flagship. It's Admiral Tereth of the hegemony. Mara nodded. Put it through. The screen flickered, and a tall blue-skinned figure appeared, standing on a bridge lined with alien officers. His 4 arms folded across his chest, his voice cold and measured. Human vessel Leviathan, you are ordered to deactivate your gravity field immediately and surrender for inspection. Failure to comply will be met with full military action. Mara kept her voice calm. Admiral Tereth, the Leviathan is on a mission critical to the survival of this galaxy. If you attack us, you will doom not just humanity, but your people as well. Tereth's eyes narrowed. Spare me the riddles, Captain. Our sensors detect the buildup of a stasis field capable of halting planetary rotation. You built a weapon. You brought it to our borders. And you expect us to believe it's for our benefit. Cade stepped forward, but Mara gave him a warning glance to stay quiet. Admiral, I can't reveal all the details over an open channel. But I promise you, this is not a weapon. It's the opposite. Then prove it, Tereth said sharply. Transmit your full technical schematics for review. Mara hesitated. The schematics contained not only the technology but also the flaws, information that, in the wrong hands, could be turned into the very weapon they feared. I can't do that, she said finally. Teretha's expression hardened. Then you have 1 galactic hour to surrender or be destroyed. This transmission is over. The screen went dark. For a moment, the only sound on the bridge was the faint hum of the Leviathan's systems. Then Ray spoke quietly. They're already moving into attack positions. Cade turned to Mara. If they open fire, the energy impact will destabilize the whole field. We'll lose weeks of progress. We won't have time to start over. Mara stared at the tactical map. 10,000 ships. Humanity's entire fleet was barely 200 strong, most of them small defense vessels. They couldn't win a fight like this. And running wasn't an option. The Leviathan was too large, too slow, and its systems couldn't be shut down without undoing months of stabilization work. Options? She asked. Cade rubbed the back of his neck. We could possibly use their attack to our advantage. Mara turned to him sharply. How? If they fire at full strength, the energy output would be enormous. If we drop our shields and channel that energy directly into the stabilizer core, we might be able to finish the repair before they can destroy us. That's insane, Ray said. It's the only way, Cade replied. The field needs more power than our reactors can give it in time. Their weapons could give us that boost. Mara knew what he wasn't saying. If they miscalculated, the energy would tear the Leviathan apart in less than a second. But if they didn't try, the galaxy would collapse into darkness within decades. Her hands tightened on the rail. Prepare the core for emergency channeling. If we're going to do this, it has to be perfect. Cade nodded once and left for engineering at a run. Mara turned back to the display of the alien armada. They were closing in, thousands of weapons locking onto the Leviathan. She took a deep breath, her heart steady. If this was humanity's last stand, then they would make it count. Far beyond the bridge, the pulses rolled out again, rippling across the stars. The countdown ticked lower, and somewhere inside her, Captain Mara Trent knew the moment was coming when everything would stop. The alien armada filled the main display, thousands of ships holding position just far enough away to keep out of the Leviathan's immediate reach. They hung there like a wall of steel and fire, waiting for the signal to strike. The pulses from the Leviathan rolled out into the void, slow and steady, each one bending light and warping gravity in ways the naked eye could not see. Captain Mara Trent stood at the front of the bridge, her arms behind her back, her eyes fixed on the ships that had come to destroy her. Every leader in that fleet believed she was about to unleash a weapon that could freeze their civilizations in place. They didn't know that if she shut it down, the galaxy's invisible threads would finally snap, dragging entire star systems into collapse. The comms officer spoke, his voice uneasy. Captain, incoming transmission from the Alien Council. All leaders are on the line. Mara gave a small nod. Put them through. The screen flickered and divided into 12 segments, each showing the face or form of an alien leader. Admiral Tereth of the Hegemony stood tall in his frame, blue skin shining under the lights. Beside him, the crystalline body of the Vathari envoy glimmered like cut glass. The Krozeth Queen loomed over her throne, her red and black armor plates shifting with every movement. Some leaders were formless, glowing clouds, floating machines. Yet all carried the same expression of mistrust. Tereth spoke first, his voice as sharp as a blade. Captain Mara Trent, this is your final chance. Shut down your device, power down your ship, and prepare to be boarded. Do this, and your crew will be spared. Mara stood still. I cannot comply. If we stop now, we risk the destruction of every star system in this sector, and eventually the entire galaxy. You think we're building a weapon. We're not. We're trying to stop something you don't even know is coming. The The Vathari envoy's voice was like cold wind through crystal. Your pulses have reached a dangerous frequency. Our time sense registers a growing distortion. To us, it feels as though the stars themselves are slowing. That is not a natural thing. That's the point, Mara replied. We're holding the mass lattice still so we can repair it. Without the field, everything will begin to unravel. The Krozeth Queen's mandibles clicked in rapid anger. You expect us to believe you are holding the galaxy together for our benefit? Humans act only for themselves. Every race here has records of your aggression. The Luminari delegate pulsed brighter in its containment shell. And if we let you finish, Captain, what then? How do we know you will not turn this power on us the moment we lower our guard? Mara felt the weight of 12 civilizations pressing against her words. They would not believe her without proof, and proof would mean giving them full access to the Leviathan's designs, a risk too great to take. If you destroy us, the field collapses, she said. And when it does, your worlds will be the first to fall into the gravity wells that are already forming. Tereth leaned forward. Enough. We've heard your warnings. The fact remains that you are threatening the balance of power. This council will not allow it. A low hum of agreement filled the channel. One by one, the alien leaders signaled their readiness for combat. Mara's gaze swept over their faces. If you open fire, you'll be giving me exactly what I need to finish the repair, she said quietly. But there's a chance I won't be able to control it. If I fail, we all die. If I succeed, the galaxy lives. Those are your choices. You leave us no choice but to treat you as hostile, Tereth said. You have 30 of your minutes. When the time is up, we will end this threat. The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in silence. Cade's voice crackled over the comm from engineering. Captain, I heard all of that. We can make this work, but the timing has to be perfect. We'll need to drop the shields at the exact moment they fire. Too soon and they'll vaporize us. Too late and we won't catch enough energy. Mara turned to her tactical officer. How long before they're in full firing position? 25 minutes, he said. She nodded. Tell all defensive ships to fall back to safe range. This is our fight now. The order spread through the fleet, and one by one, the smaller human ships began to retreat, leaving the Leviathan alone against the sea of alien warships. On the tactical display, the gap between them and the armada looked impossibly small compared to the size of the enemy formation. Mara's crew worked in tense silence. Every person on the bridge knew what was coming. They weren't going to fight in the usual sense. They were going to stand still and let themselves be hit with the largest wave of firepower in galactic history. From her vantage point, Mara watched the alien fleet shifting into final alignment. Massive cannons rotated into place. Weapon ports opened. Energy readings on the sensors climbed higher and higher. The pulses from the Leviathan kept rolling out, steady and deliberate, masking the storm about to break. Cade's voice came through again, lower this time. We'll be ready on my mark, Captain. Just be sure you really want to give that order. Mara didn't answer right away. She watched the tactical clock tick down the minutes. Her heart was steady, but in the back of her mind she could feel the enormity of the risk. She wasn't just gambling her crew's lives. She was gambling with the fate of trillions. Finally, she spoke into the comm. Get ready, Elias. We're going to need every second. Outside, the alien ships glinted in the starlight, their weapons almost at full charge. Somewhere deep inside the Leviathan, the stabilizer core pulsed in rhythm, ready to drink in the fire of 10,000 enemies. The clock reached the 20-minute mark. The countdown had truly begun. In the dim light of the engineering deck, Dr. Elias Cade moved like a man racing against the end of the world. His hands flew over glowing control panels, bypassing safety locks, rerouting power lines, and forcing systems to accept commands they were never designed for. The stabilizer core was already humming at a pitch that made the floor vibrate under his boots. It was like standing next to a heartbeat the size of a planet. The comm crackled in his ear. Elias, Mara's voice came through, calm but tight. The fleet is in final formation. 19 minutes. I'll be ready, he replied, though sweat was running down his face. Just remember, once I tell you to drop the shields, you'll only have a few seconds before their fire hits us. Any hesitation, and we'll be atoms scattered in the dark. Understood, she said, and cut the channel. On the bridge, Mara watched the massive holographic display of the enemy armada. 10,000 ships, each one bristling with weapons, each one now turning all that firepower toward her. Their formation was beautiful in a way, precise, perfect, like a deadly wall of stars. And beyond them, the galaxy stretched out, oblivious to the drama about to unfold. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Kale, spoke without taking his eyes off the readouts. Weapon power levels in the enemy fleet are at 80% and climbing. At full charge, it'll be enough to melt our hull in under 2 seconds. That's why we won't be using the shields, Mara said quietly. Kale gave her a look, but didn't argue. Everyone on the bridge knew the plan now and the risk. In engineering, Cade was making final adjustments to the converter array. The normal systems could handle the energy from 3 or 4 enemy battleships firing at once. But 10,000? That kind of force could crack open a moon. If the converters couldn't spread the load evenly into the stabilizer core, the entire ship would be swallowed by a singularity it created itself. He paused for a moment, staring at the swirling field inside the core's containment chamber. The blue-white glow shimmered like liquid lightning, pulsing in time with the Leviathan's massive gravity waves. "Come on, hold together," he muttered to it, as though the machine could hear him. The comm beeped. "Captain to engineering," Mara's voice said. Cade tapped his headset. "Go ahead." "I just got word from the comms officer," Mara said. "The council has sent their final warning. 15 minutes to surrender or they fire." Cade let out a dry laugh. "Then let's hope their idea of punctuality is as bad as mine." Back on the bridge, Mara gave the order for a ship-wide announcement. A chime sounded through every deck, and her voice filled the Leviathan. "All hands, this is the captain. In less than 15 minutes, the largest combined fleet in history will open fire on us. We will not return fire. Instead, we will let them hit us with everything they have. That energy will be redirected into our stabilizer core to finish the repair that will save the galaxy. I will not lie to you, this is dangerous. If we fail, we will not survive. But if we succeed, every living being in the galaxy will live because of what we do here today. You all know your stations. You all know your duty. Stand ready." She cut the channel and looked around the bridge. Her crew didn't cheer. They didn't need to. They just went back to their stations, their faces set with quiet determination. The minutes crawled by. Outside, the alien ships shifted slightly, tightening their wall of destruction. The space between them and the Leviathan felt smaller and smaller with each passing moment. In engineering, Cade's fingers hovered over the final sequence command. "Converters ready," he reported. "All we need now is the trigger." "On my mark," Mara replied over the comm. Kale's voice came from the tactical station. "Enemy fleet weapons at full charge. 10 minutes to deadline." Mara stood straight, eyes locked on the display. She could see Admiral Teretha's flagship in the center of the alien wall. She wondered if he was watching her now, certain she was about to attack. She wondered if he'd believe the truth when he saw it. 8 minutes, Kale said. On the far side of the bridge, Lieutenant Ray's hands tightened on the comm console. "No further messages from them, Captain. They're going through with it." Mara nodded. "All defensive ships confirm withdrawal?" "Yes, ma'am," Kale said. "We're alone out here." The hum of the Leviathan systems filled the silence. Another pulse rolled out from the stabilizer core, unseen but powerful, stretching far across the stars. 5 minutes, Kale said, his voice lower now. Mara tapped her comm to engineering. "Elias, are we ready?" "Born ready," Kate said. "Just say the word." The enemy ships began to glow brighter on the display as their weapon banks reached maximum capacity. 3 minutes, Kale said. Mara's gaze swept over her crew. Every face was tense but steady. They'd all accepted what was coming. She had 2 minutes, Kale said. Mara drew in a slow breath. All stations, prepare for shield drop. 1 minute. She imagined the alien admirals giving their own orders at this very moment. They thought they were about to end a human threat. They didn't know they were about to power humanity's greatest act of mercy. 30 seconds, Kale said. Mara keyed her comm to engineering. Elias, mark. The Leviathan's shields went dark. The bridge lighting dimmed, and for a heartbeat the ship felt naked against the void. In the same instant, the alien fleet fired. The darkness outside the Leviathan lit up like a newborn sun. 10,000 ships unleashed everything they had. Blinding beams, plasma bursts, swirling torpedoes, gravity lances, and weapons so exotic they twisted the starlight as they flew. It was a storm of fire across the void, a wall of death racing straight toward the human ship. On the bridge, no one moved. Every crew member watched the display, knowing there was nothing between them and the incoming destruction but Dr. Elias Cade's calculations. The enemy fire grew closer, brighter, faster, until suddenly it didn't. It stopped. Not slowed, not deflected, stopped. The entire bridge filled with a strange stillness, as though the air itself had frozen. Outside the viewing panels, every single weapon blast hung motionless in the black, locked in place like shards of glass suspended in midair. The alien fleet beyond them was the same, thousands of warships caught in a moment that refused to pass. Stars in the distance had ceased to twinkle. Planets far away hung perfectly still in their orbits. Mara could still feel her heart beating. She could still hear the soft hum of the Leviathan systems. But everything beyond the ship was frozen. Time outside had been stolen. In engineering, Cade was already moving, his voice quick over the comm. We've got them, Captain. The converters are pulling in their fire. Stabilizer core energy levels rising fast. Exactly as we hoped. How long can we hold this? Mara asked. 12 minutes of ship time, Cade replied. Longer than that and the strain might tear the field apart. Mara looked back at the still image of 10,000 alien weapons locked in mid-flight. It was breathtaking and terrifying at the same time. Then we make every second count, she said. Cade was already working, hands flying over the controls. In the containment chamber, the stabilizer core blazed with a furious white light, absorbing the frozen energy and turning it into pure power. The readings on his screens showed the lattice repairs accelerating, threads of gravity and time knitting themselves back together across light years of space. On the bridge, Lieutenant Ray whispered what everyone was thinking. We could destroy them all right now. Mara's gaze stayed on the still fleet. That's not why we're here. Her first officer, Kale, cleared his throat. If they don't believe us after this, Captain, I'm not sure they ever will. They'll believe, Mara said. We'll make sure of it. The next minutes were a blur of motion inside the ship. Teams recorded every possible reading, the stabilizer core's power curves, the precise state of the galactic mass lattice before and after repairs, the fact that the alien ships were held completely unharmed when they could have been annihilated. They even captured wide-field visuals showing entire sectors of space frozen in the same moment. In engineering, Cade checked the main repair display. Nearly half the galaxy's damaged threads had already been stabilized. The rest were racing toward completion. We're at 75% repairs, Captain, he reported. And climbing fast. Good, Mara said. Make sure the logs are clean and detailed. I want them to see exactly what happened. At the back of the bridge, Sarah Lynn from the comms team was piecing together the message they would broadcast the moment time returned to normal. She worked fast, combining hard data with simple language every species could understand. If they see the science and the proof at the same time, they won't be able to argue, she said. Cade's voice came again. 90% repairs complete. The Leviathan's core was almost blinding now, its light spilling into the engineering deck. It pulsed in perfect rhythm with the frozen weapons outside, each beat drawing in more power, each beat healing a galaxy that had been dying in silence for centuries. 10 minutes, Cade warned. On the bridge, Mara stared at the alien flagship in the frozen wall of ships. Admiral Tereth was in there somewhere, locked in the middle of what he thought was the decisive battle to end the human threat. She almost wished she could see his face when time came back. Cade's voice broke her thoughts. Repairs complete, Captain. The galaxy's lattice is stable. Stronger than it's been in centuries. Mara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. Then it's time. They had 2 minutes left before the field would collapse on its own. In those minutes, the crew finalized their message. A clear statement, the proof of the repairs, and the undeniable truth that the Leviathan could have wiped out the entire armada in a single moment but chose to save them instead. The final moment came like the last tick of a clock. All systems ready? Cade said over the comm, dropping the field in 3-1. The frozen light outside came alive. Beams vanished into nothing. Torpedoes disappeared. Stars began to twinkle again. Planets resumed their slow arcs. The alien fleet found themselves exactly where they had been before firing, but the Leviathan was still there, unharmed, and the deadly energy they'd unleashed was gone. On the bridge, the comms lit up with incoming transmissions from every corner of the fleet. Confusion, disbelief, demands for explanation. Mara looked at her comms officer. Send the message, all of it, to every ship in their fleet. Sarah hit the transmit command, and the Leviathan's truth went out across the void. The message from the Leviathan spread through the alien armada like a spark in dry grass. Every ship received it at the same moment. Hard data, real-time visuals, and a calm voice explaining what had just happened. It showed the galaxy's mass lattice before and after the repairs, the frozen moment when 10,000 ships had been caught mid-strike, and the fact that not one of them had been harmed. It showed how that same power could have been turned against them, and how humanity had chosen not to. On the bridge of the Hegemony flagship, Admiral Tereth stood in silence as the evidence unfolded on his main display. His officers shifted uncomfortably, four-armed silhouettes bathed in the glow of the holograms. The data was too precise, too detailed to be faked. Even the Vathari envoy aboard his ship murmured in awe, their crystalline body resonating with the truth they could feel in the repaired flow of time. This is real, the envoy said quietly. The stars are moving as they should again. The slowing has ended. Tereth said nothing. Pride and shame warred in his expression as he replayed the frozen image of the Leviathan holding back all their weapons. He had been certain he was saving the galaxy from a human weapon, but the truth was far more uncomfortable. They had attacked the very thing that had just saved them. Across the fleet, similar moments played out. On Krozeth hive carriers, insectoid warriors clicked in uneasy rhythms as they realized their attacks had been turned into fuel for salvation. On Luminari energy ships, the glowing beings pulsed slowly, acknowledging the balance of their world had been restored. Even the cold, mechanical voices of the synth collective reported agreement. Mathematical confirmation that the repairs were genuine. Aboard the Leviathan, Mara waited. She knew the transmissions were being reviewed, doubted, and then slowly accepted. It wasn't going to turn enemies into friends instantly, but truth had a way of cutting through fear. The comms lit up. Incoming transmission from Admiral Tereth, Captain, Ray said. Put him through, Mara replied. The blue-skinned face of the Hegemony Admiral filled the main screen. His forearms were no longer crossed in challenge. They hung loosely at his sides. Captain Mara Trent, he said after a long pause. We owe you an apology. The words seemed heavy for him to say. You have done what no one else could. My people will not forget this. Mara inclined her head slightly. It was never about who would remember, Admiral. It was about who would survive. Behind him, the Vathari envoy stepped forward. Your pulses no longer threaten the balance. The galaxy breathes freely again. We will tell our people what happened here. Another voice joined in, this one from the Krozeth Queen's channel. Her armored plates had shifted to a deep yellow, the color of respect in her species. Humans are not as we believed. Today, you acted not as conquerors, but as guardians. Soon, other channels opened. The Luminari delegate pulsed a warm, slow light. We see your choice. We understand its weight. Our fleets will stand down. On the Leviathan's bridge, Kale gave a small smile. Looks like they're starting to get it, Captain. Mara allowed herself the faintest hint of a grin. One step at a time. In engineering, Cade leaned back in his chair, exhaustion written all over him. The stabilizer core's furious glow had settled to a soft, steady pulse. For the first time in months, the ship felt quiet. He tapped his comm to the bridge. "Core's stable, Captain. We did it. And we're still here." "You did it, Elias," Mara replied. "You and every person on this ship." But the work wasn't finished. Mara knew that the repairs had bought time, centuries, maybe longer, but the cause of the damage was still there. Every faster-than-light jump chipped at the galaxy's fabric. The Leviathan's success would mean nothing if no one learned from it. "Ray," she said, turning to the comms officer. "Send an open invitation to the Alien Council. We're going to share our data, all of it. We need new FTL technology that doesn't tear the lattice apart. And this time we work together." The message went out, and soon replies began to return. The Vathari were the first to agree. The Luminari followed. Even the cautious Krozeth Queen gave her assent. One by one, the same ships that had come to destroy the Leviathan now signaled their willingness to meet. Not as enemies, but as allies in the survival of the galaxy. On the flagship, Admiral Tereth closed his channel with a final message. "Captain Trent, I was wrong about you, about your kind. When we meet again, it will not be on opposite sides of a battlefield." The screen went dark. For a long moment, Mara stood in the quiet hum of the bridge, letting it sink in. They had faced down the largest fleet ever assembled, taken its full force, and turned it into something that would keep the stars shining for ages to come. But in her mind, she could still see the moment when everything outside had frozen. The strange stillness of the galaxy, the deadly beauty of suspended destruction. It was a sight she knew she would never forget. "Set a course for the Aurora Spire," she ordered. "If they're ready to talk, so are we." The Leviathan turned slowly in the starlit void, no longer alone, no longer hunted. Behind it, the alien fleets began to move as well, not in pursuit but in formation. For the first time, they traveled the same path. The Aurora Spire came into view like a silver crown hanging in the darkness. Its great rings spun slowly, reflecting the light of a nearby star. The Leviathan approached at reduced speed, escorted not by human warships, but by vessels from every one of the 12 alien civilizations. Where there had once been suspicion and hostility, there was now a quiet, cautious respect. Inside the council chamber, the mood was nothing like the last meeting. The same leaders were there, Admiral Tereth of the Hegemony, the shimmering Vathari envoy, the towering Krozeth Queen, the luminary sphere of light, and the others, but their eyes no longer burned with accusation. This time, they were waiting to hear what humanity had to say. Captain Mara Trent stood before them without armor, without guards, only the weight of the truth she carried. Behind her, a large display projected the recorded images from the Leviathan sensors. Frozen weapons, repaired gravity threads, the exact moment the galaxy's mass lattice had been restored. Every frame was undeniable proof. "When you fired on us," Mara began, her voice steady, "you gave us the power to finish the repairs. You thought we were your enemy. We weren't. We never were. And now you've seen the results for yourselves." The Vathari envoy stepped forward, her crystalline form glowing softly. "We feel the change in the flow of time. The imbalance is gone. Your work is real." The Krozeth Queen's armored plates shifted to a deep golden hue. "You acted when you could have destroyed us. That is not the way of a predator. It is the way of a protector." Admiral Tereth inclined his head slightly. "I spoke of removing a threat. I was wrong. Humanity is not a threat to be removed, but a partner we should have trusted sooner." Mara glanced toward Dr. Elias Cade, who stood at the side of the chamber. He had dark circles under his eyes, but he looked almost proud. She gave him a small nod before turning back to the council. "The repairs will hold for centuries, but they are not a permanent solution. If we keep using faster-than-light drives the way we have been, the damage will return. And next time, there may not be anyone left to fix it." She tapped the console and a new set of schematics appeared, designs for improved FTL systems, built from human research and alien theory combined. We propose this, she continued. We share the data we've collected, and we develop new technology together. No more secrets, no more suspicion. This is the only way to ensure the galaxy's survival. The room was quiet for several long seconds. Then the luminary sphere pulsed a warm light. We will contribute our energy containment methods. The Vathri envoy spoke next. We will map the new pulse patterns across time-space to ensure stability. Even the synth collective's cold, mechanical voice broke the silence. Collaboration increases survival probability by 94.7%. We agree. One by one, every leader pledged their cooperation. What had begun as the largest military alliance ever assembled against humanity was now transforming into the first united scientific effort of the galaxy. Later, in the docking bay of the Leviathan, Mara walked alongside Cade as crews from different species moved through the massive corridors. Vathri engineers studied human consoles, Krozeth technicians clicked in rapid conversation with human navigators, and the glowing luminari drifted slowly above the decks, observing the ship that had saved them all. It's strange, Cade said with a tired smile. A week ago they wanted us dead. Now they want to help us build the future. Mara looked out at the rows of alien ships moored alongside the Leviathan. Maybe that's how trust is built. Not when things are easy, but when you survive the worst together. He chuckled softly. You know, the history books are going to love this. The day the galaxy stood still. Let's hope they remember the lesson too, Mara said. That power isn't about what you can destroy. It's about what you choose to protect. The next days passed in a blur of meetings, technical exchanges, and joint planning. Slowly, the designs for the new FTL drives began to take shape. Every species contributed something unique, and for the first time, knowledge flowed freely between them. When the Leviathan finally departed the Aurora Spire, it was no longer under suspicion. It was a flagship of a new alliance, carrying with it the plans that would change how the galaxy traveled forever. As the ship moved through the quiet of space, Mara stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. They seemed brighter somehow, alive with the promise of countless journeys yet to come. The hum of the stabilizer core was steady now, a gentle heartbeat in the bones of the ship. Her crew worked calmly at their stations. No tension, no fear, just focus. They had been through the moment when time itself had stopped, and they had come out the other side knowing they had saved everything worth saving. Mara allowed herself a small, private smile. The galaxy had been given a second chance, and humanity, once seen as a danger, was now its guardian. Far behind them, the great threads of gravity and time held firm, stitched together by the courage of a crew who had stood their ground when the universe was ready to tear itself apart. The Leviathan's engines flared, and the ship turned toward its next mission. The stars stretched ahead, steady and eternal, because one ship and one choice had kept them that way. And in that vast, endless dark, the galaxy moved forward, together.